Formalism and Functionalism. Let's see what the two things were about. Enjoy. Let's discuss formalism and functionalism, two groundbreaking theories in the evolution of critical theory. This is used to analyze literary texts from a very, very wide perspective. Let's see what they are about. Let's begin by Russian formalism, also known as formalism for short. It started in the 1915s and evolved onto the 1920s, and we have to say that it is text-centered. It tried to establish general principles and theories as to what makes literature literary and poems poetic. One thing we have to bear in mind is what the name evokes. It focuses on form, not on function. So it pays attention to the form of the text or the surface. The main concepts within it are defamiliarization, foreground, and background. What is defamiliarization? It refers to the fact that literary texts change and challenge or defamiliarize all that is made familiar by habit. That is to say, when you read a literary text, your mind is challenged to think in a different way and to regard reality in a different way. When we talk about foreground, they focused on the form of language as creating certain violence which draws attention. For example, in poems, you have the use of imagery, sound patterning, rhyme, or inversion. The rest of the language, which has not been forced, let's say, becomes part of the background. When we go to narrative, the reshuffling of time, space, and narrator, among other things, or for example, the changes in the plot, cause that violence that then makes the reader focus on that part. Therefore, that becomes part of the foreground in the text. If we go to the background, everything else that has been not foregrounded becomes then part of the background. Let's talk about functionalism now. It was an outgrowth of Russian formalism, and it was developed by the Prague School. It started in the late 1920s and it went on to the 1960s. The difference between this and formalism is that functionalism socialized and historicized the notions of defamiliarization, foreground, and background. So they keep the terms, but they change the notion that the term implies. They established there is no fixed norm or ordinary language use, so the term universal does not apply here. Instead of having a theory that is text-centered, this theory is socially and historically centered, and I believe it regards the reader as part of the equation in all the literary process. Let's apply the theory into practice now. We are going to make an analogy with a picture. What you can see here in my slide is the wonderful Henry Fuseli's The Nightmare. He's one of my favorite painters, by the way. And we're going to apply the formalist point of view to this picture. If I look at the picture, the first thing I see is a lady. The lady is lying in bed. She looks quite unconscious, so we don't know if she's dead or drugged or something. She's not conscious. On top of her, we see a very strange creature. It seems as if the creature were immobilizing the lady. We don't know how the creature is doing this, but this seems to be the thing here. And then at the background, we see curtains, velvet crimson curtains, and another creature pushing the head into the vision we are having. This could be through a window or directly through the curtains themselves. So this is, from a formalist point of view, the whole thing we would be seeing. We have to bear in mind that on a side there seems to be a bedside table in which we see a very strange file. Has she taken opium? Well, we don't know. The hypothesis will have to remain unanswered for the time being. This is as far as formalism would go. Now, if we look at it from a functionalist point of view, we would be looking at the same items inside the picture, the fainting lady, the creature on top of her, reminding us of these dreams in which we cannot move. Sleep paralysis is called. And then we have the other creature at the back, and we have the curtains and the projection of the shadow of the first creature onto the curtains, and the file on the bedside table, and the whole situation, which is very strange. But now we have to add that the picture has been put on the wall of my slide. It is in a slide which is called Gallery, and I did it on purpose. So my picture is in my gallery, which I prepared for you people to look at in order to illustrate a point which is teaching you literary theory. Whoa, that is really something. In this case, I'm applying functionalism. Now, the picture, which is set in the gallery, which is set in the slide, which is set in the presentation I prepared for you, is inside my computer, and my computer is in my house because COVID-19 has forced us all to stay at home. So, what do you say to all this? Pure functionalism. Without COVID, I would not have ever made this presentation. I hope this is clear. So I hope everything has been clear. And to take this even further, the idea is that you can apply this to practically any text. I mean, this is a very user-friendly theory in opposition to many others we're going to study, but this one in particular can be applied to anything you read. So get ready, because that's what you're going to do. This is a challenge. And coming back to the cup and the painting and the rest of the theories, what happens to you when you've got a text in hand, as I've got this cup in my hand? Do you pay attention to the surface? Do you pay attention to the function it performs? What is it you pay attention to? So whenever you read a text from now on, your reading is going to be completely different. That is to say, I have done something for you to look at text from a different perspective, but it's just the beginning. I haven't finished, I'm not done, and there's a lot more to do. Again, both my cups, the first one you saw and this one, were presents from my students, and that's why I use them for the videos. Both of them perform the same function, but they are completely different in aesthetics. What happens to the texts? Maybe the surface of the texts is very different, but they perform the same function. What about the text you have in hand now? Are they just for pleasure? Are they educational? Are you reading them because you have to, or for pleasure, because you chose to read them? Think about those things, and think about when they were made. Why did the author make them? What was their function? And what about the aesthetics and the grammar, the structure, the plot, the characters? If we put all of that together in the blending machine, something extraordinary comes out. Understanding. So, hoping you have enjoyed the video, and with a big cheers to you, I will say bye-bye.